Hey guys, Zane here with another one-take review, and today I wanted to talk about the new Fax Gang album, Dataprism. Dataprism is the second studio album from experimental cloud rap collective Fax Gang, as well as their first since 2021's Aethernet, their first full-length album, though they did do some EPs prior to that, but Aethernet was where they really started to make some waves. While their first album was definitely far from perfect, Dataprism is significantly more successful. Although Fax Gang have always been a group that have been willing to utilize soundscapes to convey musical ideas, this may be their most deeply woven universe they've created so far. There's something beautiful and intoxicating about the sort of atmosphere and environment that's created on Dataprism, especially compared to Fax Gang's previous work, which, while solid, was more atmosphere for the sake of making you want to listen to it from front to back a couple of times, maybe. Dataprism feels different. This feels like a record that's trying to be atmospheric because it wants you to really just fall into this otherworldly feeling. Put in a shorter fashion, the collective's latest effort sees them kind of go the distance and finally create something that's less just listening for the sake of hearing it and more listening for the sake of experiencing it. The word that could describe this record best would probably be hypnotizing, at least to some extent anyway. This aspect of the record is permitted to happen due to the excellent production from a number of the members of Fax Gang. Now, if you're familiar with the group, there have been some lineup changes here after the release of Aethernet. Group members Naoki as well as Blacklight ended up leaving the group. Well, it was more like hiatuses that weren't really hiatuses, but you get my point. While this certainly could have affected the follow-up to that album negatively, it doesn't at all, as the band does pick up some newer members, but more importantly, maintains their old members, which are of course Glacier Baby, Maknae Slayer, as well as vocalist PK Shellboy. As far as production goes, each member contributes some level of production to the album that ranges from ethereal to, at times, downright psychedelic, making for a very striking listen that still maintains the collective's cloud rap influences all the same. While all of this is going on, PK Shellboy delivers some vocal work, some lyrical work that, although very cliche in tone with that very hard to understand, distorted, almost impossible and nonsensical lyrical style, as well as, again, those layered, distorted vocals, very cliche sound, but at the same time, it suits the record and its style overall, so I suppose I can't complain about it that much in that regard. It theoretically would be easy for Fax Gang to be nothing more than a half-decent group that makes some pretty pleasant sounds. I mean, on paper, the entire concept of, whoa, a nostalgia kind of based band making cloud rap, but it's also got neo-psychedelic influences to it. It's not the most original thing in the world, I will admit to that, but at the same time, there's a level of chemistry between the members and the production that comes from those members here that allows a higher level of power and intensity to shine through on Dataprism. The main problem that arises from the ethereal territory that's being explored on Dataprism is the fact that a lot of the album blends together from track to track. Although this is undeniably a great listen in full Dataprism, there's very little to distinguish each song from the next, except for very minor and subtle pieces of certain songs that really don't add up to much in the grand scheme of things. There are a couple things here or there, though, such as the drums on the song Sparks, that admittedly do add a bit of flair that makes them stand out ever so slightly from their sister songs, though not very much if I'm being totally honest. This can lead it to be difficult to appreciate these songs isolated from the record, as they feel like significantly smaller parts of a much larger and seemingly thematically much more important whole. While I personally don't mind revisiting the album in full, as again, I did think this was a very consistent and enjoyable listen, there still needs to be some sort of breaking up of tracks here, as the lack of casual enjoyability about Dataprism is what holds it back from being a truly amazing listen. Again, the content itself that's found on this record is phenomenal, I will say that much, but the lack of distinctness between songs, it kind of makes it difficult to want to return to it. So, overall, Dataprism is a pretty impressive release from Fax Gang, especially considering I didn't really care for their debut that much. The production here is absolutely amazing and allows the record to hold up on its own, even if it does feel like a sort of non-stop continuation of the same or extremely similar sounds. Does hold it back from feeling like something that's enjoyable from both a whole piece and a sort of broken up perspective, which is truly a shame because I think that there could be some great things done here if they just made each song sound slightly different from the next, but that just doesn't happen. I mean, sure, a song like Guardian Angel and a song like Pendulum are both great songs, but are they all that different, really? Not really all that much, if I'm being honest, and if it weren't for the fact that streaming services list the title of songs, I would probably assume that the entirety of Dataprism was just one singular, very long song. Still, though, after a fairly polarizing debut album from Fax Gang, I do genuinely believe that this record will be a little bit more well received, and rightfully so. So I'm going to give Dataprism 4 stars out of 5. Again, that sort of never-ending continuation of the same sound does hold it back a little bit, if I'm being totally honest, which is a shame because, again, there's some amazing sounds presented here. It's just that they repeat themselves too much too quickly. But again, 4 stars out of 5. And with that being said, that's the end of this review, and I'll see you guys in the next one.